cutaneous innervation of the back of thigh. So in the midline, the strip of the skin in the back of thigh, in the midline, over the popliteal fossa, up till the upper back of the midline strip of skin of the leg. They are supplied by the posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh, which is basically also called the posterior femoral cutaneous nerve, branch of sacral plexus. Secondly, the skin over the posterolateral aspect of the back of thigh is supplied by the lateral cutaneous nerve of thigh, which is basically branch of lumbar plexus. Whereas medially, receives its innervation by the two nerves. Above, we have cutaneous branches from the obturator nerve and from the medial branches of the anterior cutaneous nerve, branch of femoral nerve. Now let's see a few points regarding posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh. Posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh is, I wouldn't say it is a commonly given SAQ, but it is one of those MCQs and SAQs which students consider to be given from the rare topics. So जब यूनिवर्सिटी का बहुत दिल चाह रहा होता है कि वो आपको कहीं से कोई रेयर टॉपिक से जो इतना ज्यादा कॉमनली नहीं पूछा जाता, वो वहां से भी एमसीक्यू और एससीक्यू आपको उठा के दे देते हैं, चाहे एनुअल में चाहे सप्ली में. ठीक है, तो इसी वजह से अगेन आई एम एम्फसाइजिंग ओवर द फैक्ट दैट यू कैन नॉट लीव एनी कॉर्नर ऑफ योर रिकमेंडेड टेक्स्ट बुक्स बाय द यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ हेल्थ साइंसेज. So let's see a few facts related with the posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh. Posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh, as we established earlier, it is also called posterior femoral cutaneous nerve. What is its origin? From where does it come? Posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh, which is also called posterior femoral cutaneous nerve, arises from the sacral plexus, formed by the anterior and posterior divisions of the ventral rami of S1, S2 and S3. I'm repeating. The origin of the posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh is that it arises from the sacral plexus, formed by the anterior and posterior divisions of the ventral or anterior rami of spinal nerves S1, S2 and S3. So since we have established that this nerve is formed by the anterior and posterior divisions, so which anterior rami and their posterior divisions and which anterior rami, their ventral divisions or anterior divisions give rise to posterior cutaneous nerve? The dorsal division of the ventral rami of S1 and S2, whereas the ventral division of the ventral rami of spinal nerves S2 and S3, they give rise to the posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh. I hope this point is clear to everyone. After arising, let's move on to the course of the posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh. You can see the course and in the diagram over the right side of the slide, the course is such that it exits the pelvis through which foramen, greater or lesser, greater sciatic foramen, below the piriformis muscle. It continues to descend under the cover of gluteus maximus muscle, along with which artery? Inferior gluteal artery. It continues to run down where it enters the back of the thigh. It continues to run down to enter the back of the thigh, just lying underneath the fascia lata, which is the deep fascia of the thigh, and runs over the long head of the biceps femoris muscle, which is a muscle of the posterior compartment of the thigh, which we will study inshallah within few minutes. And it continues to run till the level of the back of the knee, that is the region of the popliteal fossa, where posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh pierces the fascia lata, accompanies the small saphenous vein till the middle of the back of the upper part of leg. Let me revise the course of posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh once again. Posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh, having been given off by the sacral plexus from the anterior and posterior divisions of the ventral rami of spinal nerves S1, S2, and S3. The course is such that it arises by exiting the pelvis through the greater sciatic foramen under the or below the piriformis muscle. It enters the gluteal region, where it continues to descend towards the back of the thigh under the cover of gluteus maximus muscle. Then further down, it continues its downward course till it enters the back of the thigh, where it lies under the cover of fascia lata and over the long head of the biceps femoris muscle, and continues to descend till it reaches the back of the knee joint, that is the region of popliteal fossa, at the level of which it pierces the fascia lata so that it would accompany the small saphenous vein till the upper part of the back of the leg. So this was all about the course of the posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh. Yes, at the level of the popliteal fossa, it pierces the fascia lata to accompany the small saphenous vein, where and along with the small saphenous vein, it continues to descend till the upper part of the midline of the back of the leg. Now let's see the branches of the posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh. If you remember from the cutaneous innervation that we covered of the gluteal region, you might remember the cluneal nerves. There were 3 cluneal nerves: superior, middle, and inferior. And it was inferior cluneal nerve that was basically branch of posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh. And it is distributed to the skin over the lateral part of the gluteus maximus muscle. Then we have perineal branches that are distributed to the region of the perineum, that is near the upper medial aspect of the thigh. Then we have a communicating branch that it gives to the nerve, which is called sural nerve. Then we have nerve itself. It is distributed to the middle of the back of thigh, skin over the popliteal fossa, and upper middle strip of the skin over the back of leg. So I hope the branches of the posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh are clear to you. So this was all about the posterior cutaneous nerve of thigh. Now let's move on to the fascia. Fascia is similar like anywhere else in the body. It has a superficial fascia and a deep fascia, and the deep fascia is also called fascia lata. And we have discussed fascia lata in detail in the previous lectures from substage 1. Now let's move on to the muscles of the posterior compartment of the thigh. The muscles of the posterior compartment of thigh are also called hamstrings. Their general points include, they have a general proximal attachment to the ischial tuberosity. They have a general distal attachment over the bones of the leg. Secondly, they act on 2 joints because they pass 2 joints. Which 2 joints? upper hip joint and lower knee joint. And they receive a common innervation from the tibial nerve, which is a branch of the sciatic nerve. Now let's see their attachments, nerve supply and action. The muscles, the three hamstrings are called, they include the muscles biceps femoris, then we have semitendinosus and semimembranosus. So we have biceps femoris. It has two heads, a long head and a short head. Short head is not considered to be a hamstring part. It is not labeled as hamstring muscle because it does not share the common features that the other three muscles, that is the long head of the biceps femoris, semitendinosus and semimembranosus, share with each other. So the short head of the biceps femoris is excluded from the hamstring category. Biceps femoris has two heads. It has a long head that arises from the ischial tuberosity and a short head that arises from the linea aspera and lateral supracondylar line of the femur. It gets inserted over the lateral side of the head of the fibula, and its tendon is split at this site by the fibular collateral ligament of the knee joint. It may also extend up till the lateral part of the tibia as well, but its main insertion is over the head of the fibula. This is often asked in the MCQs that where does the biceps femoris get inserted? Majority of its distal insertion is over the head of the fibula. Some of its distal attachment may extend over the lateral tibia. So action, since it is passing to joint, so on the hip, it acts as its extensor, and on the knee, it acts as its flexor and the lateral rotation of the knee as well. What about semitendinosus and semimembranosus? The name are self-explanatory. They are half membranous and half tendinous. So in addition to the muscular component, they have a membranous component or aponeurotic component and a tendinous component. They commonly arise from the ischial tuberosity, and semitendinosus gets inserted over the medial surface of the superior part of the tibia, whereas semimembranosus gets inserted over the medial condyle of the tibia posteriorly. So membranosus, considering its distal attachment in respect to the tendinosus, it is more posteriorly attached than the semitendinosus. This is why semitendinosus is part of pes anserinus. So semimembranosus is basically getting inserted over the posterior aspect of the upper end of the medial condyle of tibia, whereas tendinosus gets inserted anterior to it over the medial side of the upper part of tibia, along with the gracilis and sartorius. We established that all these nerves, all these muscles are supplied by the tibial branch of the sciatic nerve, except short head of the biceps femoris, which receives its innervation from which nerve? Common peroneal nerve, again a branch of sciatic nerve. It is also called common peroneal nerve and common fibular nerve. What is the action of the biceps femoris? It flexes the leg and extends the thigh. So all these three muscles, they are more or less extensors of the thigh and flexors of the knee joint. So this was all about today's lecture. I hope it is clear to you.